Hey there, Dan Martell here, serial entrepreneur, investor, and creator of SaaS Academy. In this episode, I'm going to share with you the power of public speaking. I'm going to share with you the strategies and tips for beginners. I'm going to go all the way back. I've been speaking now for 10 years, but I'm going to go all the way back to the specific strategies that I think are going to serve you at the beginning stages and make it really easy for you to approach public speaking. Be sure to stay to the end where I'm going to share with you one of the most powerful talks I've ever given, the one that's gotten the most recognition and impacted the most people. It's called Everything in My Power. I'll tell you more about that in a bit. Let's get into it. So my journey to public speaking starts like over a decade ago. 2008, I moved to San Francisco. I just sold my company back in Canada where I grew up, and I wanted to practice a new skill and get involved in the startup community and connect with people. And I figured, maybe it's time to overcome this fear. I mean, I used to my neck would get this big bright red dot right there. It's like a birthmark. My hands would get like crazy sweaty. My armpits would get all like wet and like sweaty. And I was just, I wanted to stay away from it. I figure I'm a programmer. I grew up as more of an introvert, writing code. And then slowly I had to learn how to lead teams and give talks, at annual planning meetings and, birthday parties and stuff. And it's just something I wanted to learn. So I'm in this co-working space and the owner comes up to me and they ask me what I do. And I share with them that I'm into marketing and sales and stuff. And they say, well, could you do a session? And everything in my body said, don't say yes, just say you're busy, you can't do it. And I said yes. And I ended up doing my first workshop at this co-working space, San Francisco. I think there might've been 7 people that showed up. That was cool, I'm okay with 7. And I gave my talk and I got a little bit of, excitement for it. I felt confident. I was like, I sounded like I knew what I was talking about, and all these things you say to yourself in your head. Now fast forward to today, I get paid tens of thousands of dollars to give keynotes, sharing powerful messages. I have one of the largest YouTube channels on the internet for B2B software founders. So I teach software entrepreneurs how to scale their companies. I fly all over the world and give talks. It's kind of something I used to do a whole lot more, and now because I'm heads down building companies, it's something that I have to say less and less to. But I speak pretty much on a weekly basis. It's my art form. It's the thing I do today. And I make incredible income from doing that outside of my main companies. And I want to share with you, if I had to go back, the 5 strategies that I think would have gotten me there faster in regards to the quality and the confidence around speaking, especially if you're a beginner. Let's get into it. Number 1, always say yes. So right after I agreed to give my talk at this co-working place, I called my buddy Gare. So Gare is Gare Maxwell. You can Google him. He is a professional speaker. He's been doing this for 25 years. His delivery is impeccable. His wordsmanship, his energy, his ideas that he brings to the market. I mean, there's a reason why he's one of the top speakers. And I remember saying to Gare, I was like, hey Gare, I need to learn how to be a better speaker. What do you suggest? And his feedback to me was always say yes. And I'm like, that's the feedback. Out of all the things, not around story structure or routines before you get on stage or how to prepare anything, he's just always say yes. He goes, most people just need to put in the reps. And he explained to it, the yes is, if you get asked to give a speech at a wedding, say yes. If you get asked to, does anybody want to say anything in a meeting, say yes. Like literally anytime you're getting anxious to speak, you have to stand up and say yes to yourself. Maybe not out loud, yes, I'll do it. But in your head, you know when you have opportunities and you just need to start by just doing it. Always saying yes, committing to the date, and then figuring out how you're going to deliver later. Number 2, the triple T, WIIFT-NETR. We've got 3 acronyms. I'm going to break them down and share with you exactly how you should think through them and why, if they're missing, your talk can literally fall flat. So there's 3 things. Number 1 is triple T. First, you want to tell them what you're going to tell them. You want to tell them, and then you want to tell them what you told them. Okay, it's really that simple. At the beginning of any talk, you're going to start off and you're going to say, here's what I'm going to tell you today. I'm going to share this point of view. Then you share that point of view, and at the end you say, I just want to recap what I just shared with you. It sounds crazy, but that is the structure of any good talk, is because some people forget, and it's just a really clean way of just like beginning, doing the thing, and then figuring out how you're going to flow to the end. But that's the first triple T. The other one is WIIFT, okay? What's in it for them? Every person that's sitting in the audience listens to the speaker and they want to know, how is this going to help me? Some speakers, especially when you start doing more public speaking, you make it about you. So I want you to make sure you always ask yourself, what's in it for them? What are the specific benefits they're going to achieve at the beginning? Tell them, like, from this talk, you'll learn this, this, and this. If you don't do it, people don't lean forward to want to listen because they don't know what they're going to get from you. Okay, so that's the second acronym. And ETR, the most important in my mind, is earn the right. ETR means that at the beginning of a talk, YouTube video, Facebook video, stage presentation, whatever it is, even if you're giving a talk, in all my companies do these things called team upgrades, and it's the time for everybody to teach something. It's a 10-minute tactic. And the ones that miss the opportunity to earn the right to share their story about how they learn the thing they're about to teach, it misses the opportunity to build credibility. So it's like if you've ever sat in an audience, somebody starts talking about a thing where they're trying to teach you, but they don't tell you how they became the expert or how they learned the thing, then the whole time you're listening to it, you're not really connecting with it, because you're like, why am I listening to this person for this specific topic? Why is that person the person I should listen to? So if you look at all of my YouTube videos and podcast interviews, etc., I always start by trying to share my story for the reason why I learned the thing I'm about to talk with the person. Those are the 3 acronyms. Number 3, start and end. It really can be this simple. Are you ready for the secret? It is this. Just know how you're going to start and know how you're going to end. And if you just have the beginning and the end figured out, trust me, the fear of forgetting what to say is not going to be there, because you'll be able to just transition the end. The cool part is nobody knows if you forgot to say something. So many people, the beginners, you beat yourself up because you're like, I should have said this and I was supposed to say that and da-da-da-da-da. Nobody cares. Nobody knows. They literally don't know. You know if you forgot to tell a story. I do it all the time. I'm like, man, I forgot to close the loop on this story. I forgot to tell this part or this thing, but nobody knows except for me. All I focus on is when I get on stage, I've got the first 5 minutes figured out. How do I start? What's the joke I'm going to tell? What's the point I'm going to make? What's the first 5 minutes? I just make sure that that's good. And then at the very end, how am I going to finish this off? How am I going to put a nice little bow tie on this talk? And I need to know how I'm going to end. And then obviously I've outlined the rest of it, but if I can have the beginning figured out and the ending figured out, it takes all the pressure off. So make sure you figure out how you're going to start and how you're going to end. Number 4, point, story, metaphor. Okay, so pretty much if you want to say like, Dan, give me the least amount of things I need to remember to tell a good speech, I'm going to say point, story, metaphor. Okay, and this is true for any speaking, team speaking, social media videos, whatever. Here's how it works is again, it's back to the tell me what you're going to tell them. It's like you have to have a point. Okay, so like strategies for speaking as a beginner. Okay, so that's the point. Story. How did you learn that strategy? You tell the story. Why did this come to you? And what did you discover? And what's the journey? And what does your life look like today? A lot of people, including myself, I forget how does my life look different today? I always tell like the challenges and I learn this thing, but I don't resolve the story, okay? So tell the story. And then the metaphor for me is almost acts as like, so if the story's the glue, so I have a point I want to talk about, the story's the glue, the metaphor is kind of like a hardening, kind of like it locks it in the mind. So the metaphor is kind of a visual representation of what you're sharing. So for example, a great metaphor, if I'm talking like the point is that you need to let go of excuses, okay? Because those excuses are holding you back. And I'll tell a story about a time in my life where I had excuses and I was making up all these reasons why I couldn't do something and I overcame it. And now this is what I accomplished and this is what my life looks like today. And one of the metaphors I like to use for that is, think of it this way. Every excuse you have on a daily basis, you come up with one excuse. It's like a 1 pound weight that you put in your backpack, okay? And you're trying to climb this ladder of success. Okay, so everybody's trying to climb the ladder of success for their own world, what their success definition is. And if every day you have a new excuse and you put that extra pound of weight in your backpack, that new excuse, boom, after 30 days, that backpack gets some heavy. And you're trying to climb this ladder of success. Is it gonna be easier or is it gonna be harder? It's gonna be harder. So we need to learn how to get rid of those excuses, take action, and keep the commitments we make to ourselves, because that is how we create confidence. That's a metaphor. So you see how like having a point, here's what I want to share, then telling your own story about how you learned it, maybe the 3 lessons learned out of that, and then finishing off with a metaphor is just this beautiful, focused way to share and to speak and to learn how to tell story. Number 5, act as if. So a lot of folks, when they get on stage, and look, I get it's authenticity, etc. They'll get up and they'll say, hey, I'm really nervous, or hey, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous, or they'll say something to the audience that they're nervous. Here's the deal. Anybody sitting in the audience looking at the person on stage thinks to themselves, I could never do that. I'm so glad they didn't ask me to do that. Oh my gosh, I wonder if they're nervous. And they look at them, blah, blah, blah. Here's the crazy part. Even though not only this little red spot right here would get dark red, my whole neck would turn red when I would speak. And I knew this was happening. Like, this is crazy. I'm like sitting there giving a talk and my neck is getting crazy red because I'm nervous. And you know, one time I was giving this talk at a college and one of the students puts their hand up and I think they have a question and they go, excuse me, sir, is there something wrong with you because your neck is really red? I think you're having an allergic reaction. Imagine, like, that could have been a showstopper for me from giving more talks, but I just decided, hey, that's my body, that's who I am. I'm not gonna let that stop me. And I never acknowledged it, I never mentioned it, I never said, hey, before I get going, I just want you to know my neck's gonna turn red and there's a good chance that you're gonna think there's something wrong with me, but just pay attention to my words and the stories, I promise they're gonna be good. And this is what's crazy, is now it doesn't happen anymore. It's the comfort level. Eventually it's like, why do I get, red when I'm on stage, but I don't get that way when I'm talking to a friend? And I just practice and practice and practice. And now, if it's a big audience, it can happen sometimes, but for the most part, it's very rare. And like, you can go through and look at on my YouTube channel all the times, it does happen even in videos, but I'm okay with it because I have a higher why than the downside of that happening. And I know for whatever it is for you, again, you might get sweaty, you might get stuttering, you might get whatever, but I'm gonna highly, highly encourage you of just getting on stage, acting as if, acknowledging your power, acknowledging your greatness, the fact that you're there to give selflessly to the audience, right? Because that's the other thing. When we get nervous, it's because we're being selfish about how we're worried we're gonna be interpreted. We're not there thinking, how do I give? Like, before I do a session, I get in my head, I go, who needs my best work today? Who needs my best today? And I'm showing up for that person. And that's one person. I don't care if there could be tens of thousands of people to hear this. I'm giving 100% to that one person that needs to hear this the most today. And that is act as if. Just act as if you are that rock star speaker that you will become if you keep practicing and saying yes. So quick recap, see what I'm doing there? I'm telling you what I just told you. Wink, wink. I use this in my own life. You now are part of it. So 1, always say yes. 2, the 3 T's, the what's in it for them and the ETR. 3, start and end. 4, point, story, metaphor. And 5, act as if. As I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I want to share with you the Power of Belief talk that I gave at my friend Giovanni's Archangel event. The link is below if you want to see an example of me speaking on stage and sharing a very personal story of transformation that I went through that's really the reason I've had any success in my life. So if you want to check that out as an example, click the link below. You can check that out. If this video may help a friend, feel free to share it with them directly. If you like it, smash the like button, subscribe to my channel, and as per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday. www.com